The low hum of fluorescent lights echoed through the underground parking garage, casting long, uneasy shadows between rows of gleaming luxury cars. The air smelled faintly of metal and motor oil as Victoria Sterling, 88, walked briskly toward the exit, heels clicking, mind still buzzing with numbers and strategy. As CEO of Sterling Financial Group, one of the city's most powerful investment firms, late nights were nothing new to her. She was often the last to leave the towering 40-story building that bore her name. But tonight wasn't just another night of endless paperwork and boardroom calls. Tonight, Victoria was on one of her undercover rounds, her secret tradition every few months. Dressed in a plain gray blazer and modest heels instead of her usual designer suits, she wanted to see how her employees behaved when they thought no one important was watching. It was her way of staying grounded, of remembering the people who kept her empire alive while the rest of the city slept. As she crossed the dim garage, her eyes caught something unusual, a faint circle of warm light glowing near the security desk by the elevators. At this hour, that area should have been completely deserted. Curiosity tugged at her. She slowed down. There, beneath the flickering light, sat a young man in a security guard uniform, his posture bent over a thick textbook. A small battery lantern glowed beside him, casting a soft halo across the pages. He couldn't have been more than 20-something, his expression calm but intense, the kind of focus that only comes from hunger. Not the kind that craves food, but the hunger to change your life. Around him were several more textbooks, heavy business and finance volumes, their pages worn from use. He was scribbling notes in a battered notebook balanced on his knee, the kind of effort that made Victoria pause. For a moment, she simply watched, an executive hidden in the shadows, studying the quiet determination of one of her own employees. Finally, she stepped closer. "Excuse me," she said softly. "I'm Victoria, from the executive offices upstairs. I was working late and couldn't help but notice your dedication down here." The young man startled, instantly snapping upright. His pen dropped, and he began gathering his books in a rush. I'm sorry, ma'am," he stammered, standing at attention. "I didn't mean to cause any issue. I'm Daniel Martinez, overnight security. I was just using a bit of downtime to study. I didn't think anyone would come down here." Victoria lifted a hand, her tone kind. "Please, Daniel, no need to apologize. I'm not upset." "Actually, I'm impressed." Daniel hesitated, still unsure if this was a test. "I'm working on my master's in business administration," he explained carefully. "Classes during the day, this job at night. It's not easy, but it's the only way I can afford tuition and help my family." Victoria glanced around. The cracked concrete, the faint hum of the lights, the tiny lantern fighting the darkness. His world was small but filled with effort. She smiled faintly. "Tell me, Daniel, why study down here in the cold when you could be in the security office where it's warm and bright? Why not study in the security office upstairs?" Victoria asked, folding her arms gently, curiosity glinting in her eyes. Daniel hesitated, rubbing the back of his neck. "The cameras," he admitted. "The main desk monitors every corner of that office. I didn't want anyone thinking I was slacking off. Down here, I can still watch the garage entrance and get some studying done between rounds." Victoria felt something tighten in her chest. The scene before her, this young man hunched over his books in the cold, dim light, suddenly meant so much more. He wasn't just passing time. He was fighting for his future. "You're working full-time, studying for your master's, and supporting a family," she said softly, almost to herself. "That's a lot," Daniel offered a faint smile. "It has to be. I started here 3 years ago, right after my daughter was born. The night shift pays a little better, and it gives me just enough time during the day to take classes and see my family." 3 years. He had worked in her own building for 3 whole years, and she had never once heard his name. Never noticed the quiet man keeping watch beneath her success? Victoria stepped closer, her voice warm. Tell me about your degree, Daniel. What do you want to do when you finish your MBA? At that, Daniel's eyes lit up. The fatigue melted away, replaced by passion. I want to start a financial consulting firm for working families, he said, his words quickening with excitement. Where I grew up, nobody taught us how to save, how to invest, or how to build security. I want to help people like my parents, people who work hard but never get the guidance they need. Victoria listened intently, her usual sharp business instincts softening into admiration. Most people she met in finance talked about profits and power. But this man, this security guard, was talking about purpose. That's an admirable goal, she said sincerely. How much longer until you finish? About 18 months, Daniel replied. It's taking a bit longer since I can only manage 2 classes per semester, but I'll get there. I promised my wife and my little girl I wouldn't quit. Victoria was silent for a moment, thinking. Then she made a decision that even surprised her. Daniel, she said carefully, what if I offered you a position inside the company, something that lets you gain real finance experience while you finish your degree? Daniel blinked, stunned. I really appreciate that, ma'am, but I'm not qualified for anything like that. I'm just a security guard trying to improve myself. Victoria smiled, recognizing the humility and the fear she'd once felt early in her own career. No, Daniel, she said firmly. You're not just a security guard. You're someone who studies by flashlight in a cold garage because you refuse to give up on your dreams. That kind of determination can't be taught. It's worth more than any resume. Over the next few weeks, Victoria set her plan in motion. She met with human resources, argued her case with department heads, and finally created a paid internship designed specifically for Daniel, one that would let him work in financial planning during the day while completing his MBA at night. Neither of them knew it yet, but that decision would change both of their lives forever. The new position came with more than just a title. It offered Daniel a significant pay raise and tuition assistance, cutting years off his financial struggle. For the first time in a long time, the future didn't feel like a distant dream. It felt real, reachable. From the very beginning, Daniel proved to be everything Victoria had hoped for, and more. His mix of street-smart instincts and academic precision made him a natural with clients. He spoke their language, understood their worries, and built trust where others couldn't. Unlike the polished financial advisors who spoke in jargon and percentages, Daniel talked about real life, rent, groceries, kids' education, medical bills. He wasn't some distant professional in a suit. He was one of them. Within 6 months, his client list had exploded. Families requested him by name. His approach was simple but powerful. Teach people. Don't sell to them. Victoria watched from her office window as Daniel's reputation spread through the company like wildfire. Every progress report, every client testimonial only confirmed what she already knew. She had been right to believe in him. During their monthly check-in one afternoon, Victoria leaned across her desk, a thoughtful smile on her face. Daniel, she began, I've been thinking about your goal. Starting your own consulting firm someday? Daniel looked up from his notes, a little surprised. Yes, ma'am? What if, she continued, her tone shifting with excitement, you didn't have to leave Sterling Financial to do that? What if you built your dream inside this company? He frowned slightly. I'm not sure I follow. Victoria's eyes gleamed. I'm talking about creating a new division. A branch focused solely on financial planning for working families and small business owners. You'd lead it, hire people who share your vision, train them, build the kind of practice you once dreamed about. But with our resources behind you, Daniel blinked, stunned by the magnitude of what she was offering. You mean, run my own department? Yes, she said, smiling. Make your vision part of ours. 18 months later, Daniel walked across the stage, receiving his MBA diploma. That same month, he was promoted to Director of Community Financial Services, the very division he had once imagined under the dim glow of a garage lantern. Under his leadership, the department flourished. His team, many from humble backgrounds themselves, helped hundreds of families find stability, save for college, and even start their own businesses. The success stories piled up like proof that passion mattered more than pedigree. At the company's annual awards dinner, Victoria stood on stage looking out at a sea of proud faces. Behind her, a massive banner read, "Excellence in Leadership." 2 years ago, she began, her voice steady but full of emotion, I met Daniel Martinez studying by flashlight in our parking garage. What struck me wasn't just his commitment to education. It was his dream to use that education to help others build better lives. She paused, smiling at Daniel, seated near the front with his wife and young daughter. Daniel reminded me that the most valuable employees aren't always the ones with the best resumes, but the ones with the deepest purpose and the strongest heart. When his name was called, Daniel rose to his feet, his daughter in his arms. The applause was thunderous. He took a breath, smiled at the audience, and said, 3 years ago, I was just a security guard, dreaming about helping people achieve financial stability. Miss Sterling didn't just give me a job. She gave me the opportunity to turn my dreams into reality, while helping others achieve theirs. Daniel's voice trembled slightly as he turned toward Victoria, his eyes full of genuine gratitude. She taught me that sometimes the most important light, he said, glancing at his daughter in his arms, isn't the one that helps you read the page in front of you, but the one that helps others see possibilities they never knew existed. The crowd rose to its feet, the applause echoing through the grand ballroom like thunder. Victoria smiled, quietly, proudly, as she watched Daniel embrace his family. There was something deeply moving about seeing how far he'd come. Later that night, long after the dinner ended and the laughter faded, Victoria found herself back in the underground parking garage where it had all begun. The air was still cool, the familiar hum of the fluorescent lights above filling the silence. The old security post was staffed by a new guard now, but it looked different, brighter. Victoria had made sure of that. A proper desk, soft lighting, and even a comfortable chair stood where Daniel's tiny lantern once flickered against concrete walls. She walked slowly to the same spot where she had first seen him, head bent over his books, exhaustion in his eyes but determination in every line of his face. For a moment, she closed her eyes and could almost see it again, the faint circle of light, the steady scratch of his pen, the quiet courage of a man refusing to let life defeat him. A smile touched her lips. That night had changed everything, not just for Daniel, but for her as well. She realized then that leadership wasn't only about making deals or hitting targets. It was about seeing people, really seeing them, especially the ones who worked in the shadows, carrying dreams no one had noticed yet. The best discoveries in business, she thought, aren't found in reports or spreadsheets. They're found in moments like these. The image of Daniel studying in that dim garage had stayed with her, not as a symbol of struggle, but as a reminder of what real ambition looks like. His light, small as it once was, had illuminated something far greater. It had shown her that true success isn't about keeping opportunities for yourself. It's about recognizing the spark in others and helping them ignite it into something extraordinary. Victoria looked around the quiet garage one last time and whispered to herself, sometimes the brightest lights in any company are carried by the people still studying in the shadows, just waiting for someone to see them shine.